But there's a lot of heart too, and I want to hear the story of a woman named Helen from Philadelphia. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she
Helen
has
Light.
to sit
Helen
down.
Light, yeah.
Yes, thank you. She is going to sit down and interview Paul McCartney, and this is what music meant to us boomers. I hope it means the same to kids today, but this is what music meant to us. It meant it to you. It meant it to Helen. But tell us what happens to Helen when she looks into the eyes of Paul McCartney.
And this is a professional, disc jockey. I mean, Helen's interviewed everybody. She's on the air for a lot of years. But what happens to people of our generation, because the Beatles meant so much and the Stones meant so much, and it's hard to tell people today how much the music was part of our lives. So we didn't have internet. We didn't have all this stuff. So the music is everything, right? It's shaping our lives. There are women all over this country falling in love with the Beatles. Everyone had their favorite Beatle. I suspect Paul McCartney was the favorite. Helen sits down. We had it set up, so all she had to do, we had radio people coming in. We had it set up, so all they had to do was sit down on a mic. Paul sat across from them from a table. We had an engineer running tape. So all they had to do was do the interview. They didn't have to worry about fumble with equipment or whatever. So, it's Paul McCartney. It's, Helen Light. They sit down. They look at each other. And Helen looks at Paul McCartney. And even though she's a professional, who does she see? She sees Beatle Paul. She sees the guy that she fell in love with when she was a teenager, right? And all the music, And I Loved Her and all these songs, they're all in her heart. And it just all rushes into her head and she just starts crying. This is a professional person. She just starts bawling like buckets of tears because she's finally meeting this guy, who she's had been in love with her whole life. Paul, who was amazing, got up out of his chair, picked her off her chair, and started hugging her because he's aware. He knows what he means to people. He knows what this bond is.
And you said that McCartney was the classiest, most empathetic, wonderful human being in the rock and roll business.
Yes, yeah, that I've ever met. This guy is holding her in his arms, not, just out of being a good guy. Like, look, he's kind of wiping her tears and giving her a hug, and he goes, look, I really appreciate it. And I know, because I know what we did and I know what we mean. And he doesn't mean it from an ego standpoint. He's just trying to be a good person, which he is. And so he calms her down, and then, they sit down, they try it again. The funny part is it happens all over again. She starts crying again, but she finally got it together and did a great interview. But the other part of that story is, as you read, at the end of the day, now McCartney's been working from 9 a.m. until, I think it was, I can't remember the time, but I want to say it was close to 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And he's dog tired, I can tell. He says, is there anything else on the schedule? And I'm like, well, Paul, there's one thing. I said, but it's not a have to thing. There are a lot of people waiting for you at your record label at Columbia Records. It's 5 blocks down the street. They're not the execs. They're all the everyday workaday people, assistants, people that that do displays, everything else, that they'd love to meet you, if you had time. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh no," he said, "we have to go." He goes, "Those people are important." He goes, "There, you know what, Paul?" He goes, "Those people are actually more important to me than the execs," and he meant it. Mm-hmm. Now, the funniest part was I can't walk him down. This is the 80s. I can't walk Paul McCartney down Fifth Avenue 5 blocks to my record. I can't walk him down 1 block because of the crowd, it'll be nuts, right? We had to get in a limousine in rush hour and go around the block just to even get on Fifth Avenue to go down 4 more blocks. It took 45 minutes it would have taken 5 minutes to get there. And he and I are laughing in this limousine because this isn't stupid. But anyway, he went up to the 12th floor, which is a very famous floor, the Black Rock, which was known where Columbia Records was. They call it the Black Rock because of the stone face, the stone that's used on the building. And he walked around to every desk, every assistant, every secretary, every mail person, hugged him, kissed him, signed autograph, took pictures, didn't rush anybody. He was there for 2 more hours. Again, who does that? He's Paul McCartney.